So, did you get the chapter on structuralism? The things I discussed?
Assalamu alaikum, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Walaikum assalam, Hijbullah. How are
Yes,
you?
yes. Alhamdulillah, ma'am.
I
What
saw
about you,
that,
ma'am?
yeah, Alhamdulillah, fine. I saw that you downloaded the book, right?
Yes, ma'am. I
Peter
have.
Barry's book.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Already we have downloaded the books, but problem is that, ma'am, in modernism, the materials you have shared, it doesn't open properly, ma'am.
Yeah, I know, I understand. But what about the, the recording? Did you, could you open the,
Yes, ma'am. Recording open হচ্ছে ma'am.
so there you, I think you found that PowerPoint presentation. Did you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. The presentation that was constructed by HTML,
Yeah.
it doesn't support our laptop or mobile, ma'am.
All right. Okay, I will try to send it again, but I don't think it would be that much helpful. I will try to give you the material. That was like PowerPoint presentation. I borrowed it from Google, but it was not my PowerPoint slides. I should give the credit to that slide to the creator of that slides. So that's why I was not that much serious about the slides. Hopefully, I'll be able to give you some more materials on modernism. I'm trying to find out the materials in our e-resource of our library. Our library has very good e-resources. I'm trying to get it from the library. Then I'll be able to send it to you once again. So that would be easier for you to understand. So that's why I was not very much serious about sending the PowerPoint slides that I discussed with you in my last class. But still, I will try to send it again. All right.
Yes, miss.
Uh, okay, but what about our structuralism? What do you think of structuralism? Are you confused, or are you are confident that you have understood it?
Yes, ma'am. I am confident enough that I have understood the structuralism.
You understood structuralism?
Yes, miss.
Okay, Hizbullah, I'll be very happy if you can explain it a little bit, because sometimes I get confused about structuralism. All right, so could you please explain it here with us? I'll help you definitely if I think that I can at some point with you. So could you please explain it simply so that everybody can understand it?
Yes, ma'am. I can try.
Yeah, sure. At least say something so that everybody will participate in the discussion.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, structuralism mainly is an intellectual movement, and it was begun in the French by the Claude and the Robert Barthelay, and it was their saying that meaning is always arbitrary, and the word doesn't designate the meaning actually. Actually the word express the meaning, that the meaning is fixed by the author or by the speaker.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
for example, they have drawn an example of good morrow,
yeah,
and they said that if anyone don't understand about the Alba, which suggests that the lament of lover lament of the lover of breaking the day, that means the separation of lover and beloved from the loving situation. And if someone don't understand about the Alba, it is not possible for them to understand about the good morrow. And if someone want to understand the good morrow, and he or she will have to understand the Alba. uh,
yeah,
Similarly, they have drawn another example of egg and chicken. If someone want to understand the egg, he or she will have to understand about the concept of chicken. Without the chicken, no one can understand the existence of egg. And and uh, and to show their emphasis, as they were thinking, uh, they borrowed the thinking of Saussure, and Saussure was a linguistic, and
Linguist. Yeah.
she said that uh, uh, meaning is always arbitrary, and it doesn't a word doesn't have its own meaning. uh, if the one who is using uh, the word explain the meaning which is being designated by the users.
Yeah.
He says, Saussure said, meaning are relational, and
Yeah.
the relational meaning can be in three ways. First one is paradigmatic chain.
Yeah.
The meaning of a words depends on 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 a series of words. For example, he said here, hovel, shade, heart, house, mansion, palace. All
Okay.
the words similar. All the words have arbitrary meaning in relation of that. Hovel means something or somewhere people used to store something, and shade is also something like that. Heart is similarly is a made of place where people used to live, uh, which is made by straw. House is a much more constructed way, and in this way place is the luxurious one where people stay. But but all the words have the meaning in a relation. And another point, he said, the meaning of a word depend on opposite word.
Yeah.
For example, he said day, night, man, woman, and so on.
It's called binary opposition.
Yes, miss. Also is a binary opposition. And he also said, ma'am, the meaning of a word meaning of a word depends on its structure. For example, you have drawn the Mahanagar Prabhati train,
Yeah.
which is around 9 or 9:20. It's the leaving time from Dhaka.
Yeah.
Though the train uh, some way or somehow uh, late for 2 hours or 3 hours, but
Yeah.
as is had been designated the meaning Mahanagar Prabhati that's coming through uh, between 8 between 9 to 9:50, whenever the leaving time, but it meaning is always the same,
Yeah.
though it delayed 1 day or 2 day or 2 hours, it
All
doesn't
right.
matter.
Yeah.
And
That means
he
9 o'clock train, if it starts at 11 o'clock, but still it is known as 9 o'clock train, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And he has on an example from his own life here. And another point of his is the language constitute our world.
Yeah.
For example, he said uh, the word the word we used uh, can have the same meaning if we use the word in a different way. Can
Right.
with our feeling change, though the consequence will be same, but our feeling towards the word uh, remain different. For
Yeah.
example, it says here the poll tax. The people become very angry whenever they heard about the poll tax. But whenever the government changed the word,
Yeah.
namely community charge, then people understood that calmly. People took the word calmly.
Yeah. Yeah. They took it very agreeably, right? There is uh, no other criticism. They have taken it comfortably, right?
Yes, miss.
Yeah.
That's all I understood from your uh, previous class.
Yeah, very good, Hizbullah. You have touched all the major points. You talked about chicken egg theory, right?
Yes.
So which one is chicken and which one is egg? If it is your literary, if literature is concerned, as far as literature is concerned, which would be chicken and which would be egg?
Yes, miss. Yes, miss. I forgot. I missed this that point.
Yeah.
The good moro is the egg, and the alba is the chicken, ma'am.
Yeah, that means the genre will be the chicken, right? Genre
Yes.
could be alba, it could be satire, it could be sonnet, whatever. And here, alba is the chicken, and the poem, Good Morrow, is the egg. That means the product is the egg, and the structure, the main structure is, or genre is, the chicken. All right. So
Yes, miss.
who are the major structuralists we have seen in structuralism? The two,
Ma'am, Ronald Barth,
yeah, Roland Barthes.
And Ferdinand.
No,
Uh,
Ferdinand came later,
Ronald Barth and ma'am,
and Claude
later, yes, Claude,
Lévi-Strauss.
Claude, Claude,
Yeah, Claude
Claude.
Lévi-Strauss. Yeah. So
Ma'am,
Roland,
there is another example I don't understand
yeah,
about the lingua and parole.
Lang and Parole, yeah. Again, that is another way of looking at structure. First, you have to think of signified and signified. Have you seen that, signified and signified? Signified is the sound of the word, and signified is the word itself. All right.
Ma'am, it is the way constructing the myth, isn't it, ma'am?
Yeah. Right. Lang and Parole is the particular language and the whole structure of the language system, or the sound system. Okay. So we will
Yes,
discuss
miss.
it in detail about Lang and Parole. But again, see, important side is signifier and signified. Okay, the word, how it is understood, the sound of the word may not be the word it shows, like tree, the sound tree, but the tree itself may not the same thing. Now look at this. If I say tree, it creates a mental image in your mind that it is the tree. Okay, but the sound of the tree doesn't have the connection with the actual tree. But we are familiar, we are used to look at tree, and it gives us a mental image that it is tree. Okay, so the signifier is the sound of the word, and signified is the word. Okay, similarly we will discuss Lang and Parole. But let me show you a video on structuralism, where I think you will get some idea about structuralism in detail. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
so try to watch it, whether you can see this. Let me find out the video.
Hi, my name is Tom. Welcome back.
Can you see it?
Another episode.
No, ma'am.
No, miss.
My own
No, let me see. Let me see.
Ma'am, your camera.
doing series and try to provide some
No? It was good. I think if you can watch it, you can get some idea
ম্যাম
about
আপনাকে তাহলে আরেকটা লিংক ওপেন করতে হবে।
it.
লিংক তো আছে কিন্তু তারপরে শো করছে না।
Let me try. Arekta link. Now, how? I think share করলে হবে না?
মিস স্ক্রিনটা শেয়ার করলে মিস আমরা দেখে নিব, এরকম একটা ওয়ে করা যায় মিস। মিস
No,
আসছে
can you see a link?
মিস আসছে।
Acha. I thought that I could. Can you watch it?
ইয়েস মিস, দেখা যাচ্ছে।
মিস দেখা যাচ্ছে।
Can you hear the sound?
নো মিস,
Can you hear
সাউন্ড
the
আসছে
sound?
না। নো মিস, সাউন্ড আসছে না।
Okay, then in that case, I can do one thing. I have to give you the link so that it will be easier for you to watch it, because you will get a clear concept of structuralism if you can watch it. All right. Okay. I will give you the link in Google Classroom so that you can watch the full video and you can understand what we have discussed. Also, I will give you another material on structuralism, which is given in detail. Maybe this time you can understand, but first time it would be confusing for you. Now, from structuralism, I would like to move forward to post-structuralism. Do you think structuralism is all right with you? Or do you want me to discuss it again?
ম্যাম আরেকবার একটু সংক্ষেপে আলোচনা করলে ভালো হতো।
Okay. In our last class, we have seen that structuralism was introduced by two famous structuralists. They are Claude Lévi-Strauss and Roland Barthes. And it is very interesting that structuralism is one of the most controversial theories in the 1950s. In this theory, we have seen the structuralists, they are focusing on the main structure of literature, culture, art, movie, film together. So though these are of different medium, but they say that the main structure is one singular structure, and on the basis of that structure, literature or movie or culture can be understood. So to do that, there are several major features they were talking about. One major idea is it is said that language is arbitrary. Okay, That means our human mind impose meaning to the word. A word cannot be understood without meaning, and any particular word cannot be understood without the relation of this word to another set of words. That means it is relational at the same time. Relational in the sense that what cannot be what can be understood in relation with other words. For example, we were talking about different types of dwelling houses, dwelling places like hut, cottage, mansion, palace, whatever. So it has connection with other words. So together it creates a mental image that these are all houses or our dwelling places. So what can be understood in relation with other words? Okay. So from that perspective, it is actually relational. But before we see all these issues, which have been told by Saussure, there are other factors that we have to take into consideration. As we say that language is arbitrary, that means human mind creates the word or language. Then it is we have seen in our literature that the structure is part of a big foundation. The structure is the foundation of something. For example, when we are talking about genre is the structure, and then under that genre we find the example of something, as Hizbullah has mentioned, and as we have already found in our book, in our chapter, that Good Morrow is the poem which is under the structure or under the genre of Alba. Alba has its specific feature. The feature is it's known as Dawn Song. Dawn Song is a particular type of structure where the lover laments the daybreak. That means the lover doesn't want to be separated from the beloved. So that's why he laments the break of the day. And here, lover tries to praise the beloved with different words. So this is a kind of, or this is a type of poem which is known as Alba. And John Donne's poem Good Morrow and also The Sun Rising, these are considered to be under the structure of Alba. So as Hizbullah already mentioned that chicken egg theory, this is also part of structuralism, where chicken is considered to be the structure or the genre, and egg is the product, or this is the example of that genre. Like Donne's poem is the egg or the product. And here also we have seen that structuralists, they are focusing on structure. Their main concern is the structure, not the content. Content is not their main focus. Sometimes they ignore, not sometimes, always they ignore the content of the writing in order to give importance to the structure. It could be any structure. It could be sonnet. It could be blank verse. It could be dramatic monologue. So it could be any genre which is important to the structuralist. The content, like we have seen Good Morrow, the Sun Rising, the theme, the thought, the main ideas, these are not very much important to the structuralist. So here we have seen it becomes controversial to the other theorists, like I think I told you about uh, liberal, those who are the liberal theories, they say that structuralists are not right to some extent, that they are not paying attention to the content of the poem, content of any literary work, which is also important. If we don't understand the main idea of a poem, so the only structure should not be the main concern. The main concern should be the theme of the poem, the main idea of the poem. So that's why those who are liberal humanists, they are different from structuralists. So this is how there are some controversies which are also which we have also seen in structuralism. But important as we are discussing the important features, we have also seen that in structuralism we find binary opposition, which is like there are if we are talking about day and night, we also know that there are male female, so there are binary oppositions which are given importance by structuralists. And among the structuralists, we have also seen a major figure whose name is Saussure, Ferdinand de Saussure, who is also very prominent in his principle, because he has advocated several principles of how to look at structuralism. And as he was giving us the major aspects of structuralism, he talked about that structure should be it should be arbitrary. There should be it is relational, and also language creates our world. So arbitrary, we know that it is arbitrary. We have already discussed it. And then it is relational. That means each word has relation with other word. Every word has a relation with other words, and we cannot think of any word without any relation to any other word. If we are talking about tree, that means it has relation with other words like leaf, flower, branches. So it has its own connection with other words. So this is how we are actually, we see that the words are relational. So there is a syntagmatic chain here. I think I mentioned about the educational institution. If it is a school, then college, then university. So this is a kind of relational words. It has relation with other words, and it gives us a kind of impression that these are all educational institutions. Then Saussure also mentioned that words are created in a way that it actually give us a kind of impression in our mind that 9 o'clock train. 9 o'clock train means it starts at 9 o'clock. It might be late. It may start at 11 o'clock, like during our Eid vacation. So even then, it is known as 9 o'clock train, because it is known as 9 o'clock train. Then he also says that language creates our world. That means we can change the meaning of the word, and according to the meaning of that word, it gives us a different impression. I told you about the word called terrorist. Terrorist gives us a kind of feeling that terrorist is a person who creates terror among us. But again, this terrorist could be a patriot, which is very shocking to us to know. But again, this is also true. I mentioned about Hitler. Hitler is a terrorist to us, but to his own countrymen, he is a patriot because he did everything for the welfare of his own country. So the same word, it creates different meaning, and eventually it changes the meaning if the word is changed. And but it is actually, it creates our own world, because this is how we are looking at the world. I mentioned about the tax. The tax, if it is a positive thing, then people can accept it. But if it is presented in a negative manner, then people will criticize about it. So, during Margaret Thatcher's time, when the tax was introduced as a poll tax, people resisted, people were criticized, people revolted. Then the name was changed into community service. Then people accepted it, and they did not say anything against it. Again, we have, I was talking about the seasons. So the seasons in a year, we don't know when the year begins. We say that it begins in January, but it is in our calendar, English calendar, we have seen it starts at in January. But if it is our Bangla calendar, then it starts in Boishakh, or it's Boishakh. Then if it is Arabic, then Muharram is the. So this is how we have created it. It's not that it's like our own way of looking at the world. This is how we say that language is our world. Okay, so this is all about, very briefly, it's all about structuralism.
ম্যাম বুঝতে পেরেছি পুরোটা ম্যাম, শুধু একটা জায়গায় একটা কোশ্চেন, ওই যে জার্নাল ম্যাম নামটা ভুলে মানে কি করতে পারছি না, ওই জিনিসটা।
জানরা,
জি জি ম্যাম, জানরা, হোয়াট ইজ জানরা ম্যাম, ওইটা আমার ক্লিয়ার হচ্ছে না, একটু যদি কাইন্ডলি একবার একটু রিপিট করতেন।
Genre is actually the type, the kind. As we know, we have different types of, what should I say? Like in poem, we have, we know that we have sonnet, we have a dramatic monologue, we have lyric, we have ode. So these are genre. Okay. If you look at drama, then tragedy, comedy, historical drama, tragicomedy, these are all genres.
Genre.
Okay.
Yes, Miss. Clear, Miss.
Okay. So, do you think we can move forward? Jamil, can you say something? Have you understood? Since this is your first class. Okay, Jamil, before we discuss, I want you, since you are the, I should say, fresher in master's program, could you please introduce yourself to to us? Can you give us a little bit idea about you? Jamil, can you hear me? Jamil, can you hear me? Can you introduce yourself? Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah. Where did you complete your honors? Oh, I see. All right. And after that, you joined here, right? Okay. So welcome to our English department and to Southeast University. Jamil, did you get registered in the previous semester or this semester? Okay, this is your first semester, right? Okay. All right. Now, Jamil, can you please tell me where do you find which is very confusing to you? Which one? We started, the first theory is structuralism, because it is one of our basic theories. And from structuralism, we will move to post-structuralism. So I have just talked about very briefly about structuralism. Now, what do you find very confusing? Which one? Yeah, yeah. Have you read structuralism before? So you have basic idea about structuralism, right? So I think you have heard about Roland Barthes, Claude Lévi-Strauss, and Saussure, right? They are the major figures in structuralism. Okay. Hizbullah, I would like to ask you, did you share your book with everybody in your group?
Ma'am, ma'am, already all of us have downloaded this soft copy, ma'am.
Okay, that's great. That's great. So, Jamil, I think if you join the group, you will get the copy, right, Hizbullah?
Yes, miss.
Okay, so for Jamil, if you join the group, you will get all the information and about the book. And yeah, sorry. You don't need to buy the book. I think this time you don't need to buy the book. It's already there. Yeah, yeah, Jamil. Oh, how would you join the group? Yeah, Antor will help you, or yeah, Antor, I think you will help Jamil to join the group. I gave you the number of Antor. Antor is also here. After the class, talk to Antor, and then he will help you to join the group. And if you join the group, once you join the group, then you will get all the information. Antor.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you have to help him joining the group, right?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Now, there are other ideas in structuralism, but I think I don't think that you have. If you have any more interest about structuralism, I can go on, but I would like to move forward to post-structuralism. What do you think?
Yes, miss. Problem nai, miss. You can go ahead.
Okay, so post-structuralism. Post-structuralism, it's again, some say that it is a reaction against structuralism, a kind of revolt against structuralism. It's not that it is the extension of structuralism. Rather, as I said, it could be a kind of protest.
Thinking out of the structure.
Yeah. Here it is also interesting that Roland Barthes, who was primarily or who was initially a structuralist, later he became post-structuralist because to him there are some other, he developed some other ideas for which he actually came out of structuralism and he started another new school of thought or theory, which is known as post-structuralism. Post, you know, post-structuralism, post, like after structuralism. Now, his idea is in post-structuralism, he showed that a writer or the author is not he should not be the authoritative voice. All right. Once he writes anything, it is what he says, death of a writer. death of a writer means once he writes something in his literary text, then he has nothing to do with that text. That means text should be impersonal, not personal. And when a reader is reading it, he develops his own point of view, and that is what he calls birth of the reader. So this is interesting. Death of a Writer, there is a book called Death of a Writer, and once there is death of a writer, it gives us another impression, and that impression is what Barthes says, Roland Barthes says, birth of a reader. Okay. Now, death of a writer means, for example, Shakespeare. Okay. He wrote Tempest. And when he wrote Tempest, he wrote it from his own point of view. He has his own ideas. But today, as a reader, when I'm reading the text, the drama, I'm giving another meaning to that text because I'm analyzing it from different perspective. I can analyze it from the perspective of post-colonialism. All right, because in Tempest we have seen elements of post-colonialism. Though Shakespeare didn't have it in mind, consciously he didn't have it in mind, maybe, but as a reader, I'm trying to analyze that drama from that perspective. Okay. For example, you are reading Sons and Lovers, and Sons and Lovers, when D.H. Lawrence wrote it, he might not have the idea whether it could be considered as a piece of work of feminism. But today we are actually discussing Sons and Lovers in the light of feminism, modernism. Okay, so these are what we are doing as a reader. So as a reader, we are developing our own point of view, or we are analyzing that text from our own perspective, and we are giving new meaning to it, which might be different from the meaning of the author. So that is called death of the writer, birth of the reader. That shows the text is independent. Text is not writer-centric. Text is fully independent from the authority of the writer. So it is what Roland Barthes tries to show in post-structuralism. Have you understood?
Yes, miss. It means that the writer's view ends and the reader's view starts.
Yeah.
Exact point is that is described by Roland Barthes.
Yeah, Roland, yeah, very good. That means as a writer, writer has his own perspective. Uh, and as a reader, I have my own perspective. So when I'm reading the text, my perspective may not match with the writer's perspective. Okay.
Yes, miss. Yes.
So that shows that I'm fully independent in analyzing the text. I can discuss it from different perspective, from different points of view. Okay.
Yes, miss.
Now, who can give me who can explain it now? Let me see whether you have understood or not. Jamil, will you try? Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. All right, Jamil. Thank you. Yeah. Next, who would like to? Hizbullah.
Yes, miss.
Have you understood?
Uh, yes, miss.
Can you say something in your own words? What you have
Uh,
understood?
whenever writer, ma'am, whenever writer writes any literary, they have their own point of view. But whenever we are reading,
Yeah.
after after two centuries, and he can try to compare those text in, in
Yeah.
different ways, and that's why it is said the writers, when the writers write in his own point of view, of death of, I mean,
Death of the writer,
death of the
birth of the
writer,
reader.
yes. And whenever
Yeah.
the reader start reading it in his own point of view, then it becomes the birth of reader.
Yeah. Birth of a reader. So can you give me an example? How would you consider the birth of a reader?
Yes, miss. For example, I can say whenever Timothy wrote different kind of poems in Bengali,
Yeah.
he wrote those poems in his own point of view. But whenever
Yeah.
we are reading nowadays, whenever we are reading those poems, we are giving some different arbitrary meaning on it, though there is no uh, close relation.
ম্যাম সরি ফর ইন্টারাপ্ট মনির আপু মাইক্রোফোন অফ কর
জি আমার তো এখান থেকে কোনো আমি আওয়াজ হচ্ছে না
আপনার এখান থেকে অনেক আওয়াজ হচ্ছে
না আমি কনফার্ম শিওর অ্যাবাউট
আপনার
ইট
এখান
বিকজ
থেকে
আমার
আসছে
রুম
আপু।
কনফাইন্ড এবং আমি দেখছি যে এখানে নড়ছে না
আওয়াজ হইতেছে বাচ্চাদের
বাচ্চারা তো সব ঘুম আপু আওয়াজ হবে কি করে হচ্ছে ইটস ওকে স্টিল আই এম মিউটিং মাই
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Okay. Then whenever Joshimuddin wrote those poems, he wrote those poems in his own point of view. How she saw the village and the affairs there. But nowadays, whenever we are reading those poems, we are giving some arbitrary meaning on it. Those have no close relation to its poem
Yeah.
sometimes. So it has been said there. So I can say here when Joshimuddin was writing those poems, it was his point of view, and that is called the end of the writer, or death of the writer. And whenever we are reading and giving some arbitrary meaning to it, that is too much different, or could be the same. It doesn't matter. That is called the birth of reader.
Exactly. Very good. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay, Vidbullah, thank you. Now, Saqib, can you say something about it?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me, ma'am?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Post-structuralism is something like a rebellion against structuralism. I think in post-structuralism, the post-structuralist thinks that one cannot define everything through the structure, by the structure of something. And whenever we say birth of a reader and death of a writer, it seems that when a writer writes something, and if he thinks that through my writing I will change everything, through my writing I will raise the society, that is not that is impossible, because his thinking and our thinking, the emotion is very much different. Like Hizbullah Bhai says that when Jasimuddin wrote down those poems according to his emotion, how he described the villages and the nature. We don't feel the same emotion and the express emotion and the impression like he felt. We think yes, there is a nature, there is a village. However, things have changed. Our thinking process have changed, and there is a time gap. So because of the different impersonate or the impression, the writers has their own world. The writers have their own dimension of thinking, and which is
Yeah.
very much different from the writer. So that is why the writers raise when the reader writes when the writers died after he wrote down his literary work or anything.
All right. Yeah. Very good. Well done. Maisha.
Ma'am, I have a point. Maybe
Yeah.
I already shared my view, but now I'm thinking about another point which I would like to share, if you give
Yeah.
me permission.
Yeah.
Means,
Yeah. Of course.
here, I think a very important point is showed that the creation which is created by the writer,
Yeah.
when the writer creates it, it belongs to the writer. But after his creation, the creation becomes individual.
Okay.
It can be
Independent.
independent. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, independent. It can be read out with many of point views with the readers, and that point of view can be different from the writer.
Yeah. Because here the text is independent.
Independent. Yes, yes. That's
Right.
the point
We
I
can
was
take
talking.
Sons and Lovers as example. How many people will take the Sons and Lovers that much positively because it shows the very much Oedipus complex, so people are very much uncomfortable with it.
Yeah. We are analyzing Oedipus complex.
Every people has their different inspiration. Everyone cannot take that book that positive.
Right, exactly. So, it is actually our interpretation, and our interpretation is different from the interpretation of the writer.
Writer.
The
Yes,
writer
yes.
will have, yeah.
Can Munira Apu explain it again? I can't follow her clearly, ma'am.
Yeah, Munira, could you please do it again?
Ma'am, in my point of view, I think that ma'am, sorry that I always forget the person's name, Claude, and the name
Claude
of.
Lévi-Strauss.
Yes, yes. He tried to show us one thing in the structuralism, that the creation is belongs to the writer, but when he create it, but after the creation done, the creation becomes individual,
Yeah,
independent.
yeah,
It can be view many of points which is different from the owner, from the creator, to the readers. Reader can make many other point of view, many other features, many other views, many other pictures about that creation, because that creation though belongs to the creator, but after the creation it becomes individual.
right, exactly. Very good. Very good. Well done. Okay, so anybody else who can explain it again? Dola?
And ma'am,
Yeah.
there's the exact thing starts. I think that from there's the reader's death becomes, and the writer's death becomes, and reader's birth begins.
Yeah.
May I say something? Have you
Yeah.
seen the movie Maleficent? the Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, Maleficent, right. Yeah.
And if you think in the structuralist point of view, Maleficent is the villain. However, when it comes to the post-structuralism, we see the background of the Maleficent, how he has turned into a villain. So there is the writer wrote the Maleficent as a villain. However, when we learn the history of Maleficent, we get pity or we get sympathized. So it creates our different impression.
Right.
That is the post-structuralism. Where the writer wrote that book in a different way. However, but when we, the reader, read that book, we get pity on the villain and think that villain as a hero. So the impression or emotion or everything gets different from the writer and the reader.
Yeah, definitely. Very good. Well done. It is actually the way we are looking at the text. We means the readers. All right. And even if it is the personal account of the writer, sometimes when we are reading the text, that self of the writer is doesn't work anymore. Then it becomes absolutely our own view, and we are trying to say it from our own way or own view.
The writer may say that yes, he is a villain, but it is up to us whether we can consider him a villain or not.
Yeah, that's right. Very good. Okay, so Roland Barthes is a very prominent figure in post-structuralism. There is another strong advocate of post-structuralism, and he is Jacques Derrida. Have you heard of Jacques Derrida's name?
Yes,
No, ma'am.
I heard when Fauziya ma'am took our class in history of things, I think he introduced it. And there is a there is a theory of Roland Barthes. The image, I think I forgot the name of that theory, and there ma'am mentioned about that Jacques. It is just a brief introduction, and I forgot.
Okay, all right. Derrida is another influential figure here, and Derrida's view is there is no center. Okay, there is no center in our understanding of anything. Now, this is also apparently it seems quite confusing what it means that there is no center, or he actually introduces us to decentric world. Decentric, in a sense, what we try to understand today is we cannot take anything for granted. Like in the past, what the Western world believed, it showed that they were right. Okay, whatever they taught us, we thought that they are right, but actually we cannot take it for granted that they are right. Okay, whatever they said, the way they introduced the culture, apparently it seems that they have done the right thing, but today we can say that it should not be the right way. We can also interpret it in our own way. During the colonial period, the colonizer, they tried to establish their supremacy. Okay, supremacy in a way that their culture is the superior culture, their language is superior language, their lifestyle,
More
their,
civilized than others.
yeah, since they are civilized, yeah, they try to show that they are civilized and we are uncivilized. So
Civilized,
whatever,
barbarian.
yeah, whatever they said, that is the that should be followed by the rest of the world. So that shows that the Europeans or the Westerners, they are at the center, and rest of us are at the periphery, and we have to accept their um, views, their ideas, their principles, their philosophies. And what Derrida tries to show that there should not be any center. Okay, and it actually it becomes more forceful after the First World War, because after the First World War we have seen the futility or the uselessness of their claim that they are superior, they are the best creation, they are at the center of all attention. It is proved after or during the First World War, because the First World War shows us the failure of the
Civilized people.
advancement of civilization. So Derrida tried to show that there should not be any center, and whatever they have introduced, the Europeans, that should not be our that should not be taken as an ideal form. Um, Even Edward Said, I think you have heard of his name. Edward Said, what he said in Orientalism, that um,
Ma'am, is it too much related to the Orient and Occident, ma'am?
yeah,
Okay.
right. Because what he says that Oriental views are, we are taking the Oriental views as the right thing, or we have taken it for granted. But on the other hand, the Occidental views are also right in their own way. It's not that Oriental view should be correct all the time. Occidental view can be taken for granted. So if we go back to Derrida again, he tries to show that it means that there should not be any center. All right. Even the Eastern thoughts can be right. Eastern thoughts can be at the center of all our attention. It's not the Western thoughts that which are always right, or which should be accepted universally. It's not like that. Even the Western thoughts could be wrong. Western thoughts could be full of flaws. Maybe Eastern thoughts are correct. The way they are showing their knowledge, that can also be accepted. So this is what Derrida tries to say about the world, that there should not be any center. Okay, so this is the concept of Jacques Derrida. While Roland Barthes is talking about death of the writer and birth of the reader, Jacques Derrida gives us an impression about decentered universe, that a universe is a universe where there should not be any center. There should the center, once it is formed, if we think that this is the center, that means whatever is at the periphery or whatever is not at the center, we are not giving any attention to that periphery or to that centerless things, but that should be given prominence, or that should be given importance. So this is very briefly about Jacques Derrida's view. Have you understood?
I have a question.
Yeah.
What is periphery?
Periphery is the border, center is the center, border the marginal things. Like if you draw a line, the outer part is the periphery, and the inside the center is the center, the middle part, right? The outer part, the circle of the outer part is the periphery, and the middle part, the center, is the center.
Is the outer part means it can be example with like a circle.
Yeah, of a circle. Yeah.
Circle. So the outer side of that circle is called periphery.
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 P-E-R-I-P-H-E-R-Y. Periphery.
Periphery.
You can also see it in this way. This is the the symbolic way of looking at this thing. But periphery means those who are marginal people, they are also called periphery, like those who are at the periphery. Prantik Janogoshti. All right. We can say periphery.
Yes, miss. Clear, miss.
All right.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so who can say that you have understood? Sakib,
Yes, ma'am.
can you explain what I said?
Jack Derrida said.
Yeah.
Jack Derrida introduced about the decentric word or the decentric concept, that we should not take anything, we should not put anything in the center. Because of that there are some other aspects which will got what I said, they do not get attention. And you mentioned, ma'am, the World War One. In World War One, the Eastern and Western, everyone wants to be the center of the world, and because of that, the war raged. So, according to Jack Derrida, rather than focusing on the centric element, centric component, we should rather focus on those peripheral elements that we ignored every time.
Yeah.
Colonial time, the colonized people are forced to obey the colonizer ideal, philosophy, and the culture, and from that and because of that, their own culture, their own idea got lost. So Jack Derrida said that rather than making those those ideas center, we should focus on the ideas which got lost, which are our own ideas.
Right.
Yeah, peripheral ideas, which always got ignored. So Jack Derrida said that we should focus on the peripheral side rather than the centric element.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. There is something like it has something to do with our view that supremacy,
Yes, ma'am,
and the
supremacy.
colonial supremacy, or the feeling that they are superior to
Top of the
other.
world.
Yeah.
Civilized people. That is a very not just important, a very dangerous thing as well. It also, I think, it makes people forget about they are also human.
Yeah, and this also.
If it's not that, they will not think about harming others, or taking others' culture, others, even their language.
Yeah. Yeah, it also creates a feeling of racism. All right. Because they think that they are superior and their culture is superior. In fact, what we are doing today, we are following the footstep of our colonial masters, right?
Still
In our
following them.
Yeah. So in our philosophy, in our culture, in our administration, in our politics, everywhere we try to follow the footstep of the colonial masters. and that is what is like decentering of the universe. We should decenter it. It's not like that whatever they did they are right.
Time has changed. We got independent. It is up
Yeah,
to us to make new rules, make new
yeah,
ideas.
right. Yeah. So the culture, if you look at the culture, even today, we are uh, in the office, we call those who are the superior, we are calling SAR. It's whatever we, and the SAR is, that means the superior is um, uh, giving instruction to the subordinates in a way. Sometimes it is not very good professional relationship. There is a kind of thing that sometimes he is imposing everything on the subordinate. So this is the culture we have got from that colonial master, which is what Derrida is trying to show, that it should be there should not be any center, that this is the ideal form of it. Ideal form can be created by us, all right, that there is a friendly relationship everywhere. It can be created. There should not be any kind of discrimination, any kind of superior inferior relationship. It should not be like this. So this is where uh, Derrida is actually very much concerned, and he is criticizing all these things in his
Very much,
decentering the universe.
like modernism, where after the World War One, the society wanted to change because European culture, European rule is not failed to failed to unite the society after World War One. So
Yeah,
they needed a new rules in every sector, culture, philosophy, job sector, and because of that, the change came.
yeah. And remember, all the major theories came into focus after First World War,
Yes,
mostly during 1950s and
World
1960s.
War One forced everyone to think different.
Yeah. So World War actually changed the mindset of the people of this world, and the satisfaction, the self-satisfaction we had before, it destroyed. The devastation of the war destroyed the self-satisfaction, the complacency of the human race,
And
because
there is an article I read, ma'am, that said that World War One or Two is the proof that there is an animal still live inside every human.
yeah, right, exactly. So let us take a break, a prayer
Okay,
break.
ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, miss.
So we will come back at 15 minutes. Okay, after 15 minutes.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
all right.
আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
Walaikum assalam.
হিজবুল্লাহ ভাই,
Yes.
হ্যালো ভাই, ওই বইয়ের সফট কপিটা কি গ্রুপে দিছেন ভাই? আমি তো ডাউনলোড করতে পারি নাই।
তাহলে আমি
না
আমার
ভাই,
ইমেলটা দিয়ে দিই।
ভাই
ইমেল
একটু দেন না, খুব উপকার হয়।
আরে গুগলে নাম লেখা সার্চ দিলেই আপু শুরুতেই পেয়ে যাবেন
তাই
একদম। এই,
বইটার নামটা একটু দাও, শোনা পাখিরা, তোমরা একটু
আচ্ছা আমি আপনাকে দিতেছি ইনবক্সে।
দিও তো ভাইয়া। হিজবুল্লাহ ভাই, আপনি একটু মেল কইরেন যদি আপনার কষ্ট না হয়।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, ঠিক আছে। না, অন্তর
তাহলে
ভাই দিচ্ছে, সমস্যা নাই। অন্তর ভাই এটা দিছে আমাকে। অন্তর ভাই
তাহলে
একটু
তাহলে অন্তর ভাই অন্তর একটু মেল করবা, কারণ কি গুগলে ঘাটাঘাটি করাচ্ছে, এই জিনিসটা রেডিমেড পাবো।
আমি ডাউনলোড করছি কিন্তু এটা মেল করা যাইতাছে না। আপনি ওই যে যদি দেখেন ডাউনলোড না করতে পারেন তারপরে আমি নাম দিতাছি আপনাকে।
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, দাও তো ভাই তাহলে একটু। আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, তাহলে নামাজ পড়ে আসি, তারপর ক্লাস হবে ইনশাআল্লাহ। আল্লাহ হাফেজ।
welcome back. I think all of you are here.
Okay, so today we have discussed two major post-structuralists, Roland Barthes and Jacques Derrida. Yeah. So if you combine the ideas of these two post-structuralists, what do you find? What is there any common thing that you find?
Ma'am, both are telling us to focus some extra, others elements.
Yeah.
Like when the Roland Barthes says we need to focus on the peripheral decentric elements, and Jacques Derrida says that we need to make our own. No, sorry. Roland Barthes says that there is a connection, member. I cannot establish it. I think my.
Okay, let me help you. What Barthes says about the death of the writer and birth of the reader, Derrida says there is no center. Okay, he is giving us an impression of decentric universe. Okay, that means what writer is saying, that is not absolute thing. You can give meaning to your own reading of the text, the way you are explaining your ideas. That is your version, and that has nothing to do with the writer's version. Okay, so you don't need to, as a reader, we don't need to accept the writer's version. We have our own version. Similarly, Derrida says that nothing is absolute. Okay, there is no absolute thing in the universe. Okay, there is no center. Anything could be center and anything could be periphery. All right.
Both of them are trying to tell us to focus on another thing, to try to explore new things.
Yeah, right. So of these two theories, structuralism and post-structuralism, which one seems to be very acceptable?
Post-structuralism, ma'am. It is more like in structuralism we are bound to some, more like we are bound to do something. There are limits of our doing. But when we come to the post-structuralism, we can open up. When we can think of outside of the box, can create new things.
Very good.
Which we will fail if we follow the structuralism.
Exactly, very good. In structuralism, everything is very structured. You cannot go outside that.
Can go outside, outside or cross the limit or boundary. However, in post-structuralism, we can create new things. We can create new boundaries, not boundaries. We can cross the boundary.
Okay, yeah, very good. And maybe that's for that reason Roland Barthes has shifted his idea from structuralism to because there is freedom.
He saw the possibilities.
Yeah, and there is freedom in
post-structuralism.
In post-structuralism, and structuralism is more or less it's like scientific. Post-structuralism is based on it's philosophical. Structuralism is the tone is structuralism has something to do with linguistics, and linguistics is a science of language.
In modern time, ma'am, people are trying to explain everything with logic, with science, ma'am.
Yeah, science is basically logical, and linguistics, by linguistics we mean the scientific study of language.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
structuralism is scientific to that extent that it has something to do with linguistics, and it is if we draw a comparison, or if we draw the compare and contrast between structuralism and post-structuralism, one is absolutely scientific, and the other one is philosophical. So philosophical is post-structuralism because it is more or less open-ended. There is it is not very structured in that way,
Yes, ma'am.
and one is very subjective and the other one is objective, right?
Yes, ma'am. That is the thing I trying
Yeah.
to say, ma'am.
Since structuralism has something to do with science, that's why it's very objective, empirical. We can actually we can do experiment with that. On the other hand, post-structuralism is subjective because it has something to do with philosophical, psychological ideas. So that's why it is subjective. Structuralism, the tone of structuralism is scientific coolness. You know, science to some extent, it's very detached. It is detached in a sense that it has nothing to do with emotion, and it has something to do with rationality. On the other hand, post-structuralism is much more emotional. It has a good connection with our emotion because it is philosophical view. And here, as we are showing the you know, the decentered universe and Roland Barthes' birth of the reader, we are analyzing it from our own perspective, from our own personal view. So it is more or less very, it has something to do with our, very subjective. We are giving our personal view. It has nothing to do with our impersonal view. So, and these are the band post-structuralism.
Post-structuralism.
Okay. So, have you understood these two different viewpoints about? These are the basic differences between structuralism and post-structuralism.
These two things happened in 1 century. That is the 20th century, and a very short period of time.
Yeah.
When modernism started, and suddenly it's changed into, I mean, postmodernism, or the, I mean, the concept,
yeah,
structuralism, then suddenly change into the post-structuralism.
Right. And
within the 1900 to 2000, in this amount of time, these
yeah,
two things introduced.
Yeah. The whole set of theories actually developed during these 100 years.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and even today we have more theories. We have another important theory which is still attracting a lot of attention, and it is called eco-criticism. It is one of the latest theories, where we are, the theorists are paying much attention to the environment, connection with environment, literary text and environment, how environment is reflected in literature. And if it fails to attract the attention of the reader, then it is the failure of the literature, that it actually does not pay any attention to the major idea of the current century. So this is eco-criticism. And otherwise, most of the theories are actually, most of the theories developed during the 20th century, starting from structure, not structuralism, new criticism, structuralism, post-structuralism, deconstruction, modernism, postmodernism, feminism, Marxism, psychoanalysis. All these theories developed and
Everything happened in 100 years.
yeah,
In between 100 years.
right.
I think the World War I or II was the most important cause of this.
Yeah, actually, today theorists are, they think that literature should be analyzed in terms of theory. And that's why whenever we do any research, we do not do any research without theoretical framework. Every time you do any research, any thesis, you must take any literary theory with to support your research. You cannot do any research without the support of literary theory. All right, because in future you have to do dissertation.
Publication and research.
Yeah, so you have to select your own theory, and you have to connect it with a text, and you have to analyze the text in terms of this. All right. Okay. Now somebody will will explain it again, the difference. Saqib, difference between structuralism and post-structuralism.
Okay, structuralism is more like bound by the rules. There is a fixed structure, and one should follow the rules. In post-structuralism, there is no rules. They are more like open-minded, or more. One can do anything, or one can follow any rules, or beyond the rules. And another thing is, structure is very much scientific. Structuralism or structuralists do not think about alternative ways. However, in post-structuralism, we think our personal view, personal emotion, personal impression, they are considered as important elements. However, in structuralism, we do not consider this. We just consider what we found logically, what we found scientifically.
Very good. Well done, Saqib. It's wonderful. Who will explain it again? Yeah. Saqib has already explained it wonderfully. Then. Structuralism, post-structuralism এর মধ্যে একই সময়ের মধ্যেও একটা চেঞ্জ দেখতে পাই। Shiraju Munira, you can.
Yes, miss. Yes, miss.
So can you explain it, combining these two theories?
Ma'am, structure, one is structure based and second one is not follows the structure, that is follows philosophical matters.
Yeah.
Though both of the theory created in a particular time, but it differs with one another.
Yeah.
As in one is supported the structural system, structural method, and another one is does not support the structural theory. It supports the it tries to create new thing based on philosophy.
Yeah, very good.
And the third point in my point of view is these two philosophy these two things actually created by person, and one is both of them first in the primary stage, both of them were like what should I say, like agreed with one opinion, but
Yeah.
After some times, some of them created a new thing, which is also related with the first thing, like structural view.
Okay. Yeah. Very good. Okay. So I think you have understood, right, Munira?
Yes, Miss. Alhamdulillah.
Okay,
as far I
good.
understand.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. When you read the book, sometimes it will be very confusing because there are so many things. But this is the
Basic.
main, yeah, basic ideas, the major features of structuralism, post-structuralism, and the difference between structuralism and post-structuralism. Hizbullah is here.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So have you understood? We discussed the difference between structuralism and post-structuralism.
No, ma'am. For the last 15 minutes, I didn't hear you, ma'am.
Why? There was a problem, right?
Yes, ma'am. There was a connection problem, ma'am.
Okay. Actually, we were discussing. I want somebody to explain. I can discuss it, but who will explain? Saqib is here.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you discuss so that Hizbullah can understood, and later I will discuss it.
Okay, ma'am. First of all, we know what is structuralism and what is post-structuralism. Now, if we talk about the differences, first of all, structuralism, the structuralist follows a constructed structure. They think everything can be defined by the proper structure, and one cannot cross the structure or cannot cross the boundary. Another thing, and if we talk about the post-structuralism, it is more like open-minded. One cannot do anything, one cannot create a new structure or cannot cross the boundaries on which the structuralist cannot or forbid to cross. And another thing is structuralism is very much scientific. They do not care personal or emotion or other alternative ways. However, in post-structuralist, the people care, people consider the personal views, emotion as a prominent element. Another thing is it is structural. In structuralism, everything is defined by logic, and in post-structuralism, everything is defined by philosophy or by individual thinking philosophy.
Yeah. All right. Okay, Saqib, you want to add anything else?
There's one point that I might missed.
Okay, Munira, you want to add with Saqib? So the summary is the difference between structuralism and post-structuralism. Structuralism is very scientific because it has close relationship with linguistics, and we know linguistics is the scientific study of language. On the other hand, post-structuralism has close connection with philosophy.
Yes.
And philosophy is open-ended. All right.
Anyone can give his or her opinion.
Right. So there is no clear-cut rules and regulations that you have to do. You have to say this. You can't say that. Secondly, since it is science, structuralism it has something to do with the detachment of science. Science, it is not as as close as the philosophy. There is a scientific coolness, scientific detachment in structuralism. That's why we also find that in structuralism there is a kind of objective view. That means here you cannot expect subjective idea. Objective ideas are like more or less experiment based. It is also empirical. That means you can do research on that empirical view. On the other hand, post-structuralism is subjective. It is very much personal, and you can the tone of structuralism is very much detached. On the other hand, the tone of post-structuralism is very much cordial, full of emotional ideas are here. So one is very detached, another one is very, there is warmth, there is a kind of closeness, emotional attachment. So these are the basic differences. And one thing is very natural, that structuralism started earlier and post-structuralism came as a reaction, as a protest against structuralism. And we have seen Roland Barthes, who was first a structuralist, but later he became post-structuralist, and he gave you his view in his second book. In his first book, he showed his support to structuralism. In his second book, he showed his support to post-structuralism, and the book is called The Death of the Writer. Okay, so these are the differences between structuralism and post-structuralism. Hizbullah, have you understood?
Yes, ma'am. That's mean there are 3 points, ma'am. Structuralism is scientific because it is very much likely to linguistic, that is the science of the language, and post-structuralism is philosophical based.
Exactly.
Another point is, ma'am, structuralism is detached from emotion and based on the form, and post-structuralism is emotionally touched.
Yeah, very good. Well done.
And another point is structuralism is earlier and post-structuralism is as the reaction of Walder first.
Yeah, right.
So, ma'am, can I add another point?
Yeah,
of course. That structuralism cannot change, but post-structural can, as it is philosophical, so it can modify, it can change.
I think Monira Apu says that structuralism is very much fixed, but post-structuralism is very much flexible.
Flexible, yes.
Very good. Yeah,
that's the point.
Exactly. Structuralism is absolutely fixed. And it is
because they follow a strict structure.
Yes, and we cannot add anything here, but we can add something post-structure.
In post-structure, and in structuralism, there are rules, and one should follow that rule or structure. But in post-structuralism, there is no rule.
Ma'am, out of syllabus, আমার একটা question ছিল যে যদি research করতে চাই, if I want to make a research, তো structure-based research তো easy হবে because it has structures. But post-structural কোনো কিছু research করা কি ম্যাম এতটা easy হবে?
সাধারণত স্ট্রাকচারালিজম পোস্ট-স্ট্রাকচারালিজম নিয়ে আমাদের স্টুডেন্টরা কেউ রিসার্চ করে না। রিসার্চ করে হচ্ছে ফেমিনিজম, মার্কসিজম, তারপর মডার্নিজম, পোস্ট মডার্নিজম, সাইকো অ্যানালিসিস, এইসবের উপর আমাদের রিসার্চ গুলা হয়। পোস্ট কলোনিয়ালিজম, এই থিওরিগুলোর সাথে মানে স্টুডেন্টস মোস্টলি দে কানেক্ট দিস থিওরিজ উইথ দ্য লিটারেরি টেক্সট, যেটা তাদের সবার জন্যই কমফোর্টেবল হয়। স্ট্রাকচারালিজম পোস্ট স্ট্রাকচারালিজমকে লিটারেরি টেক্সট গুলোর সাথে কানেক্ট করাটা কিছুটা টাফ, কারণ স্ট্রাকচারালিজম কিছুটা কালচার বেসড। লিটারেচারও আছে, একটা স্ট্রাকচার অবশ্যই লিটারেচার ফলো করে, কিন্তু তারপরও দেখা যায় যে স্ট্রাকচারালিজম কালচারের ক্ষেত্রে অনেক বেশি কালচারকে ইনফ্লুয়েন্স করে বেশি। সেজন্য রিসার্চের ক্ষেত্রে আমরা থিওরি হিসেবে সাইকোলজি
ম্যাম, বাট এইটা হার্ড is interesting.
এরকম ভালো
ম্যাম, রিসার্চ হতে হলে তো ওইটার উপরে আগে থাকতে হবে, যেমন যে আমরা রিসার্চ মেথোডোলজিতে পড়ছি যে ওইটার উপরে আগে রিসার্চ থাকতে হবে। দেখা যাবে এই পয়েন্টে করতে গেলে তো রিসার্চ পাবো না।
পাওয়া যাবে না। রিসার্চ মেথোডোলজিতে তোমরা যেটা দেখেছো লিটারেচার রিভিউ করতে হয় এই কারণে যে তোমাকে একটা রিসার্চ বের করতে হবে, তো গ্যাপটা বের করতে হলে অবশ্যই লিটারেচার রিভিউ করতে হবে। তো তার মানে স্ট্রাকচারালিজমের উপর কাজ হয়নি তা না, কাজ অনেক হয়েছে, প্রচুর কাজ হয়েছে, এবং ওই কাজগুলো তুমি কিন্তু আমাদের ক্ষেত্রে হয় কি, যেটা স্টুডেন্টরা বেশি ইজি ফিল করে যে সমস্ত থিওরি গুলা নিয়ে কাজ করতে, ওগুলোর মধ্যে স্ট্রাকচারালিজম নাই। কিন্তু তার মানে তুমি যদি স্ট্রাকচারালিজমের উপরে রিসার্চ দেখো, স্কলারলি পেপারস দেখো, অনেক আছে। তো লিটারেচার রিভিউতে তো অবশ্যই ওগুলা মেনশন করতে হয়। ওই লিটারেচার রিভিউতে ওগুলা মেনশন করার পরে ইউ হ্যাভ টু ফাইন্ড আউট দ্য গ্যাপ, এবং সেই গ্যাপের উপরে তোমার কাজটা করতে হবে।
আচ্ছা, বুঝতে পারছি।
সরি টু ইন্টারাপ্ট। No, it's all right, no problem. এটা তো আমাদের ডিসকাশনে পার্ট অফ দ্য ডিসকাশন। ওকে,
থ্যাংক ইউ মিস।
আচ্ছা, মোস্ট ওয়েলকাম। আর তাহলে আজকে যদি ইফ ইউ ডোন্ট হ্যাভ এনি মোর কোয়েশ্চেন, আমরা আজকে এখানে শেষ করি।
জি ম্যাম, খুব ভালো হয় ম্যাম, আমার ছেলেটাকে পড়াইতে হবে, আগে শেষ হলে আমার আরো ভালো।
হ্যাঁ, না সবার আমার মনে হয় আরো কিছু একটু রেস্ট নিয়ে আবার কালকে প্রিপারেশন নিতে হবে, তাই না?
জি মিস।
Okay, anybody has any question, any confusion? Antor?
No ma'am, no confusion.
Everything is all right.
All right.
আচ্ছা, কই ঠিক আছে। হিজবুল্লাহ, anything else you want to share or any idea you want to discuss?
Ma'am, so far we have been discussed today. All the materials are বই থাকে কিংবা কোনো ডক ফাইল থাকে ম্যাম, তাহলে ম্যাম ওইটা আমাদের জন্য হয় কম্প্রিহেনসিভ হবে ম্যাম।
আচ্ছা, তাহলে what about contemporary literary theory? পিটার ব্যারির বইটা ঠিক আছে?
পিটার ব্যারি ম্যাম ফার্স্ট ক্লাসের যে যতটুকু পড়ছি ম্যাম ততটুকু তো সবগুলোই পেয়েছি ম্যাম। আজকে যা পড়িয়েছেন ম্যাম সবগুলো কি পোস্ট স্ট্রাকচারালিজম এই জায়গাটার মধ্যে পাবো?
হ্যাঁ, সব আছে।
ম্যাম মুনিরাপু ঠিকই বলছে ম্যাম। এই যে একটা কি আছে আপনার এখানে,
এটাই তো আমি বলছি, ওপেন হচ্ছে না।
আপনি দেখি নাই তো,
কন্টেম্পোরারি ওটা ওপেন হচ্ছে না।
হ্যাঁ, এটা ওপেন হচ্ছে না। আপনি 5 তারিখে দিবেন, এটা
অনেক বড় একটা লিংক দিয়েছে ম্যাডাম, অনেক বড় 4-5 লাইনের একটা। হ্যাঁ,
4-5 লাইনের
ওটা ওপেন হচ্ছে না।
গুগল ক্লাসরুমে ম্যাম দেখতে পাবেন ম্যাম।
কি ম্যাম, ওটা ওপেন হচ্ছে না।
হিজবুল্লাহ ভাই দেখছেন কি?
না, কোনটা ভাই এটা?
দেখেন আপনি এই যে সাবজেক্ট ক্লাস করতে
এলজি 554 এ যান।
হ্যাঁ
551 এ দেখতেছেন, এই 554
554 এ দেন।
কমেন্টে দেন, কমেন্টে লিংক দিতে।
কমেন্টে দেখেন ওখানে একটা লিংক আছে গুগল আপনার হচ্ছে
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা
কমেন্টের মধ্যে ওইখানে আলিয়া ম্যামের একটা কমেন্ট আছে, ওইটা ওপেন হচ্ছে না।
ওপেন হলে একটু প্লিজ শেয়ার করেন।
কেউ মিয়ারা আমার কথাটাতে দাম দিলাম।
ক্লাস তো মডার্নিজম করছি তখন ওইটা মনে ছিল।
বললাম যে ওপেন হচ্ছে না, তোমরা কেউ পাত্তাই দিলা না যে আপু কি কয়। আল্লাহ।
আচ্ছা ম্যাম কি আছে এখানে?
না ম্যাম চলে গেছে, ম্যাম লেফট।
ক্লাস কি শেষ?
না ম্যাম আসবে
আবার আসবে এটা চেক করার জন্য। কে সাইমা, কেন তোমার থাকতে অসুবিধা কি? থাকো। তোমার বাড়ি ছাদের উপরে নাকি এত সুন্দর সুন্দর সিনারি, তাই বলো তো?
এভরিথিং ইজ বিং রেকর্ডেড।
হিজবুল্লাহ ভাই এই যে আপনাকে কম্পিটিশনে কি করতে জয়েন করতে বলছেন?
কম্পিটিশন এটা কিসের বলো তো? এই তোমরা কি কম্পিটিশনে জয়েন করবা?
আরে না, ডিবেট কম্পিটিশন। এক লাইন ইংরেজি বলতে 10 বার চিন্তা করতে হয়, তার মধ্যে আবার কম্পিটিশনে যাব নাকি?
ওই যে হোয়াট শুড আই সে এরকম